What if Neo was in MHA? Chapter 4. Welcome to UA. Neo had arrived at Izuku's home and knocked on the door. The door then opened to show Inko. Oh Trivia. How good to see you again. It's been so long since I last saw you. I missed seeing you, Inko said. Neo smiled. Hold on. Where's Izuku? Inko asked. Neo tilted her head and gave her a confused look. He said he was going out to meet with a friend. I thought that was you, Inko said. Neo knew who exactly Izuku was meeting with. He passed the entrance exam into UA. I'm so proud of him. It's a shame that you won't be going to UA. I think my Izuku still needs you by his side, Inko said. Neo smirked and presented Inko with her acceptance level. You applied to UA and got in. That's wonderful. Now I don't have to worry about my Izuku, I know I can trust you to look after him, Inko said. Neo blushed. Would you like to come in? I'm sure Izuku will be back soon, Inko said. Neo put her hands up and shook her head. If you say so. But please, come around for dinner sometime, okay, Inko said. Neo nodded. You can even stay the night in Izuku's room, Inko said, then winking at Neo. Neo's face went entirely red. Hope to see you again soon, Inko smiled. Neo then left the apartment block still red in the face. She began to have thoughts about Izuku. She punched a wall and then started to head to where she knew she could find Izuku. Meanwhile, All Might had finally contacted Izuku after he had received his acceptance letter. Hi, All Might, Izuku said. Ga, All Might said, then coughing up blood. Chill out, kid, All Might said. A couple had overheard Izuku. All Might's here, the man asked. No way. Where, the woman asked. Way to blow my cover. Say it was a mistake, All Might said. I was just kidding. Nothing to see here, Izuku said. Lame, the man said. I wanted an autograph, the woman said. Congrats on getting in, All Might said. I couldn't have done it without your help, Izuku said. Izuku high-fives All Might. Oh, speaking of which, I didn't tell anyone at UA, apart from Principal Nezu and Recovery Girl, that I've been training you or anything. I wasn't one of the judges and I didn't pull any strings for you. You earned that spot all on your own, All Might said. Wow, thanks for telling me. I'm glad to hear that. I was really surprised to hear you're gonna be a teacher at UA this year. I was wondering what brought you here all of a sudden. After all, your agency is in Minato, Tokyo, and everyone knows, Izuku said, starting to mumble. Getting creepy, All Might said. Izuku said. The school didn't want me telling anyone about the job until they made an official announcement. It seemed like fortuitous timing, an easy way to find someone new to inherit One for All Might said. Your power is really something. There's so much power at 100%, but it completely wrecked my body, Izuku said. That's the power you will be working towards. By the end of your time at UA you will have mastered One for All and graduate as my replacement, All Might said. I could never replace you, Izuku said. That's right. You will in fact surpass me, All Might said. You have such high hopes for me. I don't know if I can live up to them, Izuku said. You need to stop being so negative. You will become the next symbol of peace, All Might said. Right, Izuku said. Izuku then felt a sharp pain in his leg. Ow, Izuku said. Young Midoriya. What's wrong, All Might asked. Izuku turned to see nothing there. Then a shimmer of pink, white and brown light revealed Neo. Trivia. What are you doing here, Izuku said. Young Midoriya, who is this young girl, All Might? This is Trivia Vanille, she's a friend from school. Trivia, this is all. I mean Toshinari, he's been helping me practice with my quirk, Izuku said. Neo gave Izuku a confused look. Yeah. I have a quirk now. Turns out it was locked until my body was ready to handle it, Izuku said. Neo gave Izuku a stern look. It's true, Izuku said. Am I missing something? Does she have a telepathy quirk? All Might asked. Oh, no. She doesn't have a telepathy quirk. She suffered damage to her throat and thus she can't talk anymore, Izuku said. Wait, I think I've heard about a case of a hero, All Might said. You don't need to say anything more, Izuku said. I see, All Might said. Now back to my question. Trivia, what are you doing here? Izuku asked. Neo then presented her acceptance letter. Is that it? Izuku asked. Neo got angry. What? I knew there was no chance you failed the entrance exam, so I didn't worry. You've always been so amazing, Izuku said. Neo blushed. Well, it was nice to meet you, Miss Vanille. But it's quite late, you two should go back home, All Might said. Right, Izuku said. Neo then moved past Izuku and stood in front of All Might. Is something that matter, Miss? All Might asked. Neo then presented her phone with the picture of All Might holding Izuku. Young Midoriya. You never mentioned you were being trained by All Might as well, All Might said. Well. He didn't want me to mention it to anyone, you know. As a part of keeping me safe, Izuku said. Neo stared at the two, before swiping the screen to a picture of All Might in his true form with Izuku with the same outfits they had in the previous picture. You've been spying on me, Izuku asked. Neo got angry. I know you were worried, but I couldn't tell you that I was training with him, Izuku yelled. Neo pouted. Well, I inherited his quirk, Izuku yelled, quickly cover his mouth afterwards. Neo looked at Izuku in shock. All Might then buffed up. I suggest we go somewhere more private right now, All Might said. Look, it really is All Might, the man said. No way. Where'd he come from? The woman said. The three then ran off. Neo was then informed about One for All. She promised to keep her mouth shut about everything she had learned. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the city, Roman and received a visit from Cinder. So, what do I owe the pleasure to? Roman asked. I'm here about your part in the plan. I'm sure you have looked over it, Cinder said. I have. And I have a slight issue with it, Roman said. Oh. And what would that be? Cinder said. Your plans for me would require a lot of men to pull off, and last time I checked, you murdered most of my men, Roman said. I haven't forgotten. And I already have a replacement for your men. The members of the White Fang will be at your disposal, Cinder said. The White Fang? That group of mutant terrorists, Roman said. They call themselves freedom fighters, Cinder said. I don't care what they call themselves. I'm not working with terrorists, Roman said. Well, that's a shame. The White Fang are an effective force and they would make your part so much easier, Cinder said. Well then, I guess you'll have to find more men to work for me, or give me more time to complete my part, Roman said. Very well. I'll see what I can do, Cinder said. April soon arrived and it was time for Izuku's first day at UA. Izuku and Neo met up at the train station and headed to UA. This year 44 students had made it into the hero course. 4 by recommendations and 40 through the regular exam. The students were split into 2 classes of 20 students each, and luckily Izuku and Neo had both been placed in class 1 AM. Izuku opened the door hoping Bakugo wasn't in his class. But his hopes were dashed. Take your feet off of that desk now, the blue-haired boy from the exam said. Ha, Bakugo said. It's the first day and you're already disrespecting this academy by scuffing school property, you cretin, the blue-haired boy said. You're kidding me, right? Your old school put a stick up your ass, or were you born with it? Bakugo asked. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Taida from the Sumaya Private Academy, Taida said. Sumia, ha. So you must think you're better than me. I'm gonna have fun tearing you a new one, Bakugo said. You would threaten me? Your own classmate? Are you sure you're in the right place, Taida said. The two, along with everyone else in the classroom, then noticed Izuku and Neo standing in the doorway. Ah, hi, Izuku said. Good morning. My name is Tenya, Taida from the Taida said, walking over to them. Yeah, I know. I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's super nice to meet you, Izuku said. Midoriya. You realized that there was something more to the practical exam, didn't you, Taida asked. Ha, Izuku said. You must be very perceptive, and I completely misjudged you. I admit as a student, you're far superior to me, Taida said. Izuku and Neo looked at each other, confused. The brown-haired girl Izuku had saved then arrived. Hey, I recognize that messed up hair. Falling boy, the girl said. Oh, hello. Nice to see you again. I don't know your name, Izuku said. Oh, right. I'm Akako Yurarika, Akako introduced. I'm Izuku Midoriya, and thanks for saving me from that fall, and I appreciate you talking to President Mick, Izuku said. Wait. How do you know about that, Akako asked. Oh, I am, Izuku said. Neo glared at Izuku. What is it, Izuku asked. Neo just turned away. She then noticed that Cinder was in the classroom. Is she okay, Akako asked. I don't know. Sometimes she's an enigma, Izuku said. Well, it's nice to meet you, Akako asked, waiting for Neo to respond with her name. Her name is Izuku said. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up your stuff now, a voice said. Everyone looked to see a man in a sleeping bag on the floor. Welcome to U.S. Hero course. It took 8 seconds before you all shut up. That's not gonna work. Time is precious. Rational students would understand that, the man said, getting out of the sleeping bag. Who is this guy? If he's here, then he must be some kind of pro. But he looks so worn out. What's his deal, Izuku thought. Hello, I'm Shouter Aizawa. Your teacher. Right, let's get to it. Put these on and head outside, Aizawa said, pulling out a tracksuit from his sleeping bag. The students did as they were told and were now gathered outside. What? A quirk assessment test, the students asked. But orientation. We're gonna miss it, Akako said. If you really wanna make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditions. That means that I get to run my class however I see fit. You've been taking standardized tests most of your lives. But you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. One day, the Ministry of Education will learn. 4. You managed to get the most villain points on the entrance exam, Aizawa said. Indeed, but not the highest score in the exam. That honor goes to the green boy, Cinder said. Placement on the exam is irrelevant. What was your farthest distance throw with a softball when you were in junior high, Aizawa asked. 59 meters, Cinder said. Right. Try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes. Just stay in the circle. Go on. You're wasting our time, Aizawa said. Very well, Cinder said. Cinder then threw the ball using her quirk. The ball flew in the air with a stream of fire behind it. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potential as a pro hero, Aizawa said. Aizawa showed his phone to the class, showing Cinder's throw distance of 725.4 meters. Whoa, are you kidding me, a yellow-haired boy said. I wanna go. That looks fun, a pink girl with horns said. This is what I'm talking about, using our quirks as much as we want, a black-haired boy with large cylindrical elbows said. So this looks fun, huh? You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all gonna be games and playtime? Diets. Today you'll compete in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none and will be expelled immediately, Aizawa said. The students were shocked. Like I said, I get to decide how this class runs. Understand? If that's a problem, you can head home right now, Aizawa said. He doesn't mess around. He's realistic. He's the type of heroes we need, Izuku thought. You can't send one of us home. I mean, we just got here. Even if it wasn't the first day, that isn't fair, Akako asked. So you think natural disasters are fair? You must be very naive to think that way, Izuku said. Harakako said. Midoriya was it, Aizawa asked. Yes sir, Izuku said. Please continue, Aizawa said. Nothing in this world is fair. Power-hungry villains, catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities, people born without quirks, and heroes taking advantage of others. Tell me how that's fair, Izuku asked. Midoriya is right. It's a hero's job to try to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. So go beyond. Plus ultra style. Show me it's no mistake that you're here. Now, then. We're just wasting time by talking. Let the games begin, Aizawa said. The students then began the physical exam using their quirks. Izuku was able to improve on all his scores, but his scores weren't as impressive as others in his class. In fact, he usually placed at the bottom, but he was constant in his placement. But he feared that his mediocre scores would have not be enough to not be expelled. Also during the whole exam, Bakugo was watching Izuku like a hawk. It was now time for Izuku's turn to do the ball throw. Izuku had decided to use 100% to get a good score. If Midoriya doesn't pull an excellent score soon, he'll most likely be the one going home, Taida said. Of course, he will, he's quirkless, Bakugo said. But he does have a quirk. Haven't you been watching him, and didn't you hear what he did in the entrance exam, Taida asked. He was quirkless when we were in middle school. So he must be quirkless now. He's using a trick, Bakugo said. Neo then got Taida's attention. What is it, Taida asked. Neo tried to communicate with Taida, but it didn't work. You're gonna need to speak, Taida said. She can't speak spectacles, Bakugo said. Oh. Why is that, Taida asked. Don't know, didn't give a fuck, Bakugo said. But she's your classmate, Taida said. It's now or never, Izuku thought. Izuku then began to throw the ball with 100%. The ball left his hand and landed a few meters away. 46 meters, a robotic voice said. What gives? I was trying to use it just now, Izuku said. I raised your quirk. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school, Aizawa said. Wait, you did what to my? Those goggles. I know you. You can look at someone and cancel out their powers. He erased a hero. Eraserhead, Izuku said. You may have control over your power, but it isn't that much. Judging by your exam results, you would have failed if it weren't for the irrational scoring of my peers. You destroyed your body to destroy the 0-pointer. But that put you in need of saving. Were you planning to break your bones again, counting on someone else to save your useless body, Aizawa asked. No. That's not what I was trying to do, Izuku said. No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle, Aizawa said. Neo's fists began to tighten. You have the same reckless passion as another overzealous hero I know, one who saved 1,000 people by himself and became a legend. But even with that drive, you're worthless if you can only throw a significant punch before breaking down. Sorry, Midoriya. With your power and the level of control you have, there's no way you can become a hero to keep up with your classmates, Aizawa said. Aizawa then let Midoriya go. I returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. Hurry and get it over with, Aizawa said. Izuku then prepared to throw the ball again. I wonder if our teacher gave him some advice, Taida said. Probably told him to start packing, Bakugo said. I've only got one shot at nailing this, so what am I gonna do, Izuku thought. Is he going to go full out like a fool, or admit defeat and do what he can and end up in last place? Either way, he doesn't belong here, Aizawa thought. Izuku then began to throw the ball, but this time he activated one for all in only one finger. Smash, Izuku yelled as he sent the ball flying. Izuku's finger was now broken, but this time he was still standing. Aizawa's phone read 705.3 meters. Mr. Aizawa. You see. I'm still standing, Izuku said. This kid, Aizawa said. What is the meaning of this? Hey. Tell me what's going on, Deku, you bastard, Bakugo yelled, charging at Deku. Neo chased after him. Bakugo and Neo were then wrapped up in Aizawa's scarf. Don't keep making me use my quirk over and over. Attacking another student in that type of manner would be grounds for expulsion. Don't do it again. Also, I'll be the handing out disciplinary action. I don't need students doing that, Miss Vanilla, Aizawa said. Bakugo and Neo calmed down. Good. Now, we've wasted enough time. Whoever's next, get ready, Aizawa said, letting Bakugo and Neo go. All the tests were now over. Izuku was able to fight through the pain and continued with his performance. Okay, I'll quickly tell you the results. The total is simply the marks you got from each test. It's a waste of time to explain verbally, so I'll show you the results all at once, Aizawa said. Aizawa then presented the scores. Izuku looked down the list and saw that he was in 21st place, just beating out a kid named Minoru Mineta. What? No. This can't be, Mineta said. Mineta. Grab your things and head to the principal's office and wait. I'll be around shortly. Mineta's face fell and he began to cry before leaving. Wait. I thought you were lying about expelling one of us, Momo said, the student who had achieved first place. You were wrong to think so. Also, Midoriya. Take this note and go see Recovery Girl. The rest of you, go back to class and collect the handouts with the curriculum and such, and then look them, Aizawa said. Izuku then went to get his finger healed. Recovery Girl scolded him for his actions. After being healed, Izuku left the infirmary to see Neo. She had grabbed the handouts from the classroom and brought them to him along with his bag. The two then began to leave the school. Thank you, Trivia. But I need to stop getting help from others, Izuku said. Neo pouted. I know that's not what he meant, but he's right. I have to hurry up and increase my control over my power, Izuku said. Izuku and Neo had left UA and had headed home. They were about to split way when Neo received a message from Roman. Our house has a water leak. Don't come home, the message said. Neo and Izuku could instantly tell that something had happened. Roma's home base had been raided. End of Chapter 4.